At Dr. Sellars Educate, we help nurse educators and leaders advance their skills, pass the certification exam, and achieve excellence in nursing. Whether you're preparing for the CNE, CHSE, or CNML exam, our coaching programs, masterclasses, and study resources are designed to help you succeed with confidence. We provide a NCC-accredited continuing education, faculty development workshops, and practical strategies to strengthen teaching excellence, simulation, curriculum design, and accreditation readiness. We partner with schools of nursing and healthcare organizations to support faculty development, certification initiatives, accreditation preparation, and educational excellence. More than 5,000 educators have trusted Dr. Sellars Educate to support their professional growth and certification journey. Visit us to learn more and join a community committed to excellence.
Imagine watching two students perform a simulation and they both do really well. Weeks later, you find out that one student is struggling with a concept while the other one is doing very well in applying not only that concept, but able to help their peers have a better comprehension of the skill that's required to deliver that level of care. So what happened? What's the difference between these two students? They both got the same feedback, but one of them struggled with clinical application. What if I told you that it was about reflective practice? The ability for our students to really break down concepts and clinical decisions in a way that allows them to transfer that knowledge from one situation to another, or to simply just transfer that current knowledge to a future situation that may be the exact same situation. That's what we're going to discuss in our conversation today. What is the value of reflective practice, not only after the students have engaged in a decision that they're making about patient care? What about the reflective practice that happens before the actual clinical decision is made, and even throughout the continuous journey of learning? If you haven't already, go ahead and pull out your study worksheet. This is going to allow you to stay focused as we talk through this concept today, as well as reflect on what is your current practice. Our goal here at Dr. Sellars Educate is to make sure all nurse educators have the skills, the tools, and the resources that they need to achieve excellence. And that starts with Billings and Halstead, which we call our Bible in Nursing Education. This is the 6th edition, but the 7th edition is also available. So you may have that one in front of you as well. You want to make sure, as we're talking through content today, that you're using page numbers that we're going to refer to in our conversation as well. And the last action we want you to take is go ahead and write down today's date as well as an objective. Now that we've talked a little bit about what we're going to explore in our conversation today, what is it that you want to walk away with having a better understanding about as it relates to reflective practice? Maybe it's having a better understanding about why it's important to engage in that type of teaching strategy and assessment tool throughout the learning journey and not just after the clinical practice decision has been made. We're going to engage in our thought-provoking question as well today. And if you have not subscribed already, or if this is the first time that you're joining us, welcome. We're glad that you're here. We're going to start with our devotional. And this is actually taken from day 6 in our devotional called Rooted in Wisdom. If you have not seen the copy, it's right here. This is a specific devotional, 365 days, specifically for us nurse educators. A single word of encouragement can change the trajectory of a student's learning journey. Students thrive in an environment where they feel supported, seen, and valued. This just happens to be my oldest son, Jason. This was obviously at his graduation, and he is a testament to this statement. I have always said my first teaching role was as a mom, as a parent, and it's important to help our students, our learners, have validation every single step of the way. So sometimes it's validation that they haven't quite mastered a skill that we need them to from a clinical standpoint. And then sometimes it's just encouragement, identifying resources to help our students do their best and achieve success. Talk about a specific page number that you want to focus on to help you have a deeper understanding about reflective practice. So first and foremost, I would say to do an assessment. Okay, so let's just take a moment for you to do an assessment and identify which courses do you currently use reflection journals, reflective practice in your assignment. All right, so let's go ahead and just think about what ways you're currently using reflective journals or reflective practice as part of your assessment or your teaching strategy that you're using. I love to use reflective practice when I'm in person and at the end of the session or the course. I just want to find out a muddy point, or I want to find out clarity maybe that students receive as a part of our discussion. All right, so what you're going to do, you can start on page 299 in Billings and Halstead. Now, this is the sixth edition. So if you turn to page 299, I'm going to turn there with you. You're going to see information about reflection journal and journal writing, reflection and journal writing. It talks about the teaching tips, and I want to hone in on this really important one. It specifically says that we want to set clear expectations for journal writing so that students know what is expected. We want to use different approaches to journal writing, writing learning objectives, summary of the experience, a diary, and focused alignment. Having some guidance or giving some guidance to our students when we talk about reflective practice is important because it may mean different things to different students. We're talking about what are some of those opportunities when it comes to reflective practice that we want to leverage with our students so we don't limit student learning. We want to expand their learning. So that's what we're doing. We're rethinking how can we really leverage reflection in nursing education so our students feel more connected to their decisions and most importantly, be able to transfer that knowledge to a future situation. Let's take a look at this thought-provoking question and see what you think. A nurse educator wants to strengthen students' clinical judgment during a simulation. Which strategy is most likely to promote deeper learning? A, conduct a detailed lecture reviewing the correct interventions immediately after the simulation to clarify questions. B, ask students to individually identify the actions they performed correctly before discussing what they would change and why. And C, provide students with a written checklist comparing their performance to the expected sequence of care. On the CNE exam, we want you to ask yourself two questions. Number one, what is this question really asking me? Number two, if you have no idea what it's really asking you, number two is going to be what concepts are included in this question and what do I know about those concepts? So, clinical judgment, simulation, deeper learning are all concepts that are included in this question, and you would want to start thinking about what is it that you already know. If you chose B, you are correct. B is going to promote that reflective practice that we're talking about to encourage our learners to analyze their own thinking, helping them think through the rationale. Why they made that decision is a key step in advancing their clinical judgment skills. It's going to also strengthen their metacognition, which is a fancy word for thinking about thinking, our ability to really do that self assessment about the rationale for the decisions that we're making and what the evidence, what the research, what knowledge we have gathered in the past that has helped inform us about our decision making process. Option A, that was the lecture. We know that is instructor centered. And option C supports performance evaluation, but it primarily reinforces procedural accuracy rather than the reasoning. So we get excited. Yes, we should acknowledge that students knew what action to take. However, do they understand the why? Do they understand the reasoning behind that clinical decision? So here's a common mistake that we make. We think that reflection belongs only as part of a debrief or as part of the end of a post-clinical conference, or maybe even a reflection journal, right? We want to engage in reflective practice throughout the learning journey. That's what helps students have a solid foundation about what they know and what they don't know. So, strategy number one, or I should say, best practice number one, is to remember that reflection is a learning strategy. It's not just a debrief. Reflective practice helps our learners connect prior knowledge with new experience. So, it builds that bridge and it helps them have a deeper understanding. And then we want to encourage our learners to truly engage in this active connection, this active link between theory and practice, just like Patricia Benner has told us about for decades. Teaching strategy or tip number two, the quality of questions matter. They actually help our students develop this higher level of learning that we're talking about. So asking the question, why did they make that decision? or what led them to make that decision. These questions are going to stimulate and trigger critical thinking and self assessment. Now, a key step in this process is making sure we're creating safe spaces for our students where they can speak up, reflect on the decision that they're making, and understanding why. This one question can help students not only shift the thoughts that they are maybe processing internally, but it can also shift their narrative, the decisions that they're making and expressing verbally about what their next steps are going to be. And we want to support students as they are answering that question, right? So it's all about how we phrase that actual question, right? So think about the tone. Why did you make that decision? It's very different than tell me more about what led you to that decision. When we're able to use a tone that supports this inclusive, safe space, it can make the difference between students feeling open and feeling safe to process information out loud instead of feeling ashamed or embarrassed to ask a question. We've always said when it comes to education, the most unsafe nurse is the one that does not ask questions. And we want our students to start embracing the value of asking questions for clarity to help them have a better comprehension of not only knowledge, but application of their decision making skills and having that deep understanding about why. Okay, so as we wrap up, there are three phases of reflective practice that we want you to remember. It's the before learning. This is going to start the activation of that prior knowledge where students are reflecting, hopefully, on the information that was shared during the didactic experience or in the skills lab or sim lab, or it could be them reflecting on a prior experience that they engaged in. And that feedback that we gave them, that's going to really craft their decision making steps about what their next step is going to be. The next phase of reflection is going to be during the learning experience. We want to encourage thinking and action. I know that I don't have a problem with this because I've always been a person that thinks out loud. Now, for some colleagues, that drives them crazy, but for me, that's how I've always processed information is to express it. So that thinking and action is important because we don't walk around with thought bubbles in our head. We want to adopt that as an accepted practice. And then we also want to help students problem solve in real time. We don't want them to wait until post-clinical conference or wait until the debrief when they are thinking about questions that they have. Now, we know we don't want to teach during the simulation. We want to give students an opportunity to really process information. And we want to think about when are those opportunities and how can I create more opportunities where students are reflecting during the learning process. And then, of course, after learning, which is very common, we're able to consolidate and validate this learning journey with our students as they think about ways to improve the performance, helping our students rethink reflection and engaging in reflective practice more often is not only going to help students feel more confident in their skills and ability, it's actually going to help them achieve a higher level of competency and consistency when it comes to making those clinical judgment decisions that we know are imperative. Our ability to truly unlock that deeper learning, or maybe validating that students have only gained that surface learning, is an important step throughout all three phases of the reflective practice process. As a nurse educator, we know how important reflective practice is because it is a strategy that we use all the time. We are debriefing about what went well during that actual lecture or that clinical or that simulation and what didn't quite go the way that we planned it to. Our ability to truly unlock our deeper learning of how we align with evidence-based practices starts with having an increased awareness of where our knowledge gaps are. If you're ready to go on that C&E journey to finally get C&E off of your bucket list, we are happy to support you on that journey. Go to our website and you will see C&E in 60 days, where we support colleagues on the journey to, yes, achieve CNE in 60 days. And if that's not part of your plan, we are delighted that you are here to watch our snapshots every week. And we look forward to continuing to support you on your journey. If you have any questions, just let us know. We hope this snapshot has been helpful, and we look forward to seeing you in the next snapshot. Have a great one, everybody. Take care.